We all know how my first time watching Goosebumps went, but this is gonna be my first time reading Goosebumps. I don't know how I never read it as a kid. What are you going to be for Halloween? Sabrina Mason asked. She moved her fork around in her bright yellow macaroni on her lunch tray, but didn't take a bite. No, boy. Carly Beth Caldwell sighed and shook her head. The overhead light on the lunchroom ceiling made her straight brown hair gleam. I don't know, a witch, maybe? Sabrina's mouth dropped open. You? A witch? Well, why not? Carly Beth demanded. Staring across the long table at her friend. I thought you were afraid of witches, Sabrina replied. She raised a forkful of macaroni to her mouth and started to chew. This macaroni is made of rubber, she complained, chewing hard. She's a little jokester in this too, Carly Beth. Carly Beth insisted, her dark eyes flashing angrily. You just think I'm a big scaredy cat, don't you? Sabrina giggled. Yes. She flipped her black ponytail behind her shoulders with a quick toss of her head. Hey, don't eat the macaroni. Really, Carly Beth, it's gross. She reached across the table to keep Carly Beth from raising her fork. But I'm starving, Carly Beth complained. Then eat the fucking thing, Carly Beth. The lunchroom grew crowded and noisy. At the next table, a group of 5th grade boys were tossing a half-full milk carton back and forth. Carly Beth saw Chuck Green ball up a bright red fruit roll-up and shove the whole sticky thing in his mouth. Yuck. She made a disgusted face at him. Then she turned back to Sabrina. I am not a scaredy cat, Sabrina, just because everyone picks on me and... Carly Beth, what about last week? Remember, at my house? Sabrina ripped open the bag of tortilla chips and offered some across the table to her friend. You mean the ghost thing? Carly Beth replied, frowning. That was really stupid, but you believed it, Sabrina said with a mouthful of chips. You really believed my attic was haunted. You should have seen the look on your face when the ceiling started to creak, and we heard the footsteps up there. That was so mean, Carly Beth complained, rolling her eyes. Then when you heard footsteps coming down the stairs, your face went all white and you screamed. Sabrina recalled, it was only Chuck and Steve. You know I'm afraid of ghosts, Carly Beth said, blushing. And snakes and bugs and loud noises and dark rooms and witches, Sabrina declared. I don't see why you have to make fun of me, Carly Beth pouted. She shoved her lunch tray away. I don't see why everyone always thinks it's so much fun to try and scare me. Even you, my best friend. I'm sorry, Sabrina said sincerely. She reached across the table and squeezed Carly Beth's wrist reassuringly. You're just so easy to scare. It's hard to resist. Here, want some chips? She shoved the bag of chips towards Carly Beth. Maybe I'll scare you someday, Carly Beth threatened. Her friend laughed. No way, Carly Beth continued to pout. She was 11, but she was tiny. And with a round face and short stub of a nose, which she hated and wished would grow longer, she looked much younger. Sabrina, on the other hand, was tall, dark, and sophisticated looking. That's an odd way to describe these. She had straight black hair tied behind her head in a ponytail and enormous dark eyes. Everyone who saw them together assumed that Sabrina was 12 or 13, but actually Carly Beth was a month older than her at the time. Maybe I won't be a witch, Carly Beth said thoughtfully. Resting her chin on her hands, maybe I'll be a disgusting monster with hanging eyeballs and green slime dripping down my face, and a loud crash made Carly Beth scream. It took her a few seconds to realize that it was just a lunch tray hitting the floor. She turned to see Gabe Moser. Oh, his face bright red. No, what? He dropped to his knees and started scooping his lunch off the floor. The lunchroom rang out with cheers and applause. Carly Beth hunched down in her seat, embarrassed that she had screamed. Her breathing had just returned to normal when a strong hand grabbed her shoulder from behind. Carly Beth's shriek echoed through the room. She heard laughter. At another table, someone yelled, "Way to go, Steve!" She whipped her head around to see her friend Steve Boswell standing behind her, a mischievous grin on his face. "Gotcha," he said, letting go of her shoulder. His best friend, Chuck Green, slammed his book bag into the table and then sat down next to Sabrina. Steve and Chuck looked so much alike. They could have been brothers. Both were tall and thin with straight brown hair, which they usually hid under baseball caps. Both had dark brown eyes and goofy grins. Both wore faded blue jeans and dark-colored long-sleeve t-shirts. And both of them loved to scare Carly Beth. They loved to startle her, to make her jump and shriek. They spent hours dreaming up new ways to frighten her. When you're dedicating this much time to it, it's very bizarre. I remember the story when we reacted to the show. That was my first time ever watching it. No other episode ever topped this. The jack-o'-lantern one came close, but I can't believe I never read these. I cannot believe it. She vowed every time that she would never, never fall for one of their stupid tricks again. But so far, they had won every time. Carly Beth always threatened to pay them back, but in all the time they'd been friends, she hadn't been able to think of anything good enough. Chuck reached for a few remaining chips in Sabrina's bag. She playfully slapped his hand away. Get your own. Steve held a crinkled hunk of aluminum foil under Carly Beth's nose. Want a sandwich? I don't want it. Carly Beth sniffed it suspiciously. What kind is it? I'm starving. It's a turkey sandwich. Here, Steve said, handing it to Carly Beth. It's too dry. My mom forgot mayo. You want it? Yeah, sure, thanks, Carly Beth exclaimed. She took the sandwich from him and peeled it back, the aluminum foil. She then took a big bite of the sandwich. As she started to chew, she realized that both Steve and Chuck were staring at her with big grins on their faces. Something tasted funny, kind of sticky and sour. Carly Beth stopped chewing. Chuck and Steve were laughing now. Sabrina looked confused. Carly Beth uttered a disgusted groan and spit the chewed sandwich hunk into a napkin. Then she pulled her bread apart and saw a big woman worm. Oh, big brown worm. Why did I say woman? A big brown woman. No, big brown worm resting on top of the turkey. Oh, with a moan, she covered her face with her hands. The room erupted with laughter, cruel laughter. I ate a worm. I'm gonna be sick, Carly Beth groaned. She jumped to her feet and stared angrily at Steve. How could you? She demanded. It isn't funny. It isn't a real worm, Chuck said. Steve was laughing too hard to talk. Huh? Carly Beth glazed down and it felt like a wave of nausea rise up from her stomach. It isn't real, it's rubber, pick it up, Chuck urged. Carly Beth hesitated. Kids all through the vast room were whispering and pointing at her and laughing. Go ahead, it isn't real, pick it up, Chuck said, grinning. Carly Beth reached down with 2 fingers and reluctantly picked up the brown worm from the sandwich. It felt warm and sticky. Gotcha again, Chuck said with a laugh. It was real, a real worm. With a horrified cry, Carly Beth tossed the worm at Chuck, who was laughing wildly. Then she leapt away from the table, knocking the chair. Oh my god, dude, this is just like not the movie, the show. This should have been its own movie. Oh my god, like, dude, they should do that, like Halloween. Then she leapt away from the table, knocking the chair over. As the chair clattered noisily against the hard floor, Carly Beth covered her mouth with her and ran gagging from the lunchroom. I can still taste it, she thought. I can still taste the worm in my mouth. I'll pay them back for this, Carly Beth thought bitterly as she ran. I'll pay them back. I really will. As she pushed through the double doors and hurtled towards the girls' room. The cruel laughter followed her across the hall. After school, Carly Beth hurried through the halls without talking to anyone. The fuck out of her way. She heard kids laughing and whispering. She knew they were laughing at her. Word had spread all over school that Carly Beth Caldwell had eaten a worm at lunch. Carly Beth, the scaredy cat. Carly Beth, who was frightened of her own shadow. Carly Beth, who was so easy to trick. Chuck and Steve had sneaked a real worm, a fat brown worm, into a sandwich, and Carly Beth had taken a big bite. What a jerk. Carly Beth ran all the way home, 3 long blocks. Her anger grew with every step. How could they do that to me? They're supposed to be my friends. Why do they think it's so funny to scare me? She burst into the house, breathing hard. Anyone home, she called, stopping in the hallway and leaning against the banister to catch her breath. Her mother hurried out from the kitchen. Carly Beth, hi, what's wrong? I ran all the way, Carly Beth told her, pulling off her blue windbreaker. Why? Miss Caldwell asked. Just felt like it, Carly Beth replied moodily. Her mother took Carly Beth's windbreaker and hung it in the front closet for her. Then she brushed a hand affectionately through Carly Beth's soft brown hair. Where'd you get this straight hair? She muttered. Her mother was always saying that. We don't look like mother and daughter at all, Carly Beth realized. Her mother was a tall, chubby woman with thick curls of coppery hair and lively gray-green eyes. She was extremely energetic, seldom stood still, and talked as rapidly as she moved. Today she was wearing a paint-stained gray sweatshirt over black lycra tights. Why so grumpy? Miss Caldwell asked. Anything you care to talk about? Carly Beth shook her head. Not really. She didn't feel like telling her mother that she had become the laughingstock of Walnut Avenue Middle School. Dude, if my middle school was called Walnut Avenue. Oh, this is so close. I mean, so far they nailed it. The show iteration of this. It's just reading it, and that's why I think a lot of the times everyone's saying that the reading of a book adaptation, a movie like Harry Potter or some shit, the books, when you're reading it, you read it in your own way. So it's not like the movie portraying it exactly. Come here, I have something to show you, Miss Caldwell said, tugging Carly Beth toward the living room. I'm really not in the mood, Mom, Carly Beth told her. Hanging back. Come on, her mother insisted and pulled her across the hallway. Carly Beth always found it impossible to argue with her mother. She was like a hurricane sweeping everything in her direction. Look, Miss Caldwell declared, grinning and gesturing to the mantelpiece. Carly Beth followed her mother's gaze to the mantel and cried out in surprise. It's a head, not just any head, Miss Caldwell said, beaming. Go on, take a closer look. Carly Beth took a few steps towards the mantelpiece, her eyes on the head, staring back at her. It took her a few moments to recognize the straight brown hair, the brown eyes, the short snip of a nose, the round cheeks. It's me, she cried, walking up to it. Yes, life size, Miss Caldwell declared. I just came from my art class at the museum. I finished it today. What do you think? Carly Beth picked it up and studied it closely. It looks just like me, Mom, really. What's it made of? Plaster of Paris, her mother replied. Taking it from Carly Beth and holding it up so that Carly Beth was face to face, eye to eye with herself. You have to be careful, it's delicate. It's hollow, see? Carly Beth stared intently at the head, peering into her own eyes. It's kind of creepy, she muttered. You mean because I did such a good job? Her mother demanded. It's just creepy, that's all, Carly Beth said. She forced herself to look away from the replica of herself and saw that the mother's smile had faded. Miss Caldwell looked hurt. Don't you like it? Yeah, sure, it's really good, Mom, Carly Beth answered quickly. But I mean, why on earth did you make it? Because I love you, Miss Caldwell replied curtly. Why else? Honestly, Carly Beth, you have the strangest reactions to things. I worked really hard on this sculpture. I'm sorry, Mom. I like it, really. I do, Carly Beth insisted. It was just a surprise, that's all. It's great. It looks like me. I had a bad day, that's all. Carly Beth took another long look at the sculpture. Its brown eyes, her brown eyes stared back at her. The brown hair shimmered in the afternoon sunlight through the window. It smiled at me, Carly Beth thought. Her mouth dropping open. I saw it. I just saw it smile. No, it had to be a trick of the light. It was a plaster of Paris head, she reminded herself. Don't go scaring yourself over nothing, Carly Beth. Haven't you made a big enough fool of yourself today? Thanks for showing it to me, Mom, she said awkwardly, pulling her eyes away. She forced a smile. 2 heads are better than 1, right? Right, Miss Caldwell agreed brightly. Incidentally, Carly Beth, your duck costume is all ready. I put it on your bed. Huh? Duck costume? You saw a duck costume at the mall, remember? Miss Caldwell carefully placed the sculpted head on the mantel. The one with all the feathers and everything. You thought it would be funny to be a duck this Halloween. So I made you a duck costume. Oh, right, Carly Beth said, her mind spinning. Do I really want to be a stupid duck this Halloween, she thought. I'll go up and take a look at it, Mom, thanks. Carly Beth had forgotten all about the duck costume. I don't want to be cute this Halloween, she thought as she climbed the stairs to her room. I want to be scary. She had seen some really scary-looking masks in the window of a new party store that had opened a few blocks from school. One of them she knew would be perfect. But now she'd have to walk around in feathers and have everyone quack at her and make fun of her. It wasn't fair. So this, in the show version, she hadn't seen the masks prior to having an idea that place was even there. Didn't she ask someone and they were like, oh, you can go to this store. And then she goes to the store and her first time pulling up on it. That's her first time pulling up on it. So it was completely blind. Why did her mother have to listen to every word she said? Just because Carly Beth had admired a duck costume in a store didn't mean she wanted to be a stupid duck for Halloween. Carly Beth hesitated outside her bedroom. The door had been pulled closed for some reason. She never closed the door. She listened carefully. She thought she heard someone breathing on the other side of the door. Someone or something. The breathing grew louder. Carly Beth pressed her ear to the door. What was in her room? There was only one way to find out. Carly Beth pulled open the door and uttered a startled cry. Quack! With the hideous cry, an enormous white-feathered duck, its eyes wild in frenzy, leapt at Carly Beth. As she staggered backwards in astonishment, the duck knocked her over and pinned her to the hallway floor. Quack! Quack! The costume has come alive. That was Carly Beth's first frightened thought. Then she quickly realized the truth. Noah, get off of me, she demanded, trying to push the duck off her chest. The white feathers brushed against her nose. Hey, that tickles, she sneezed. Noah, come on. Quack! Noah, I mean it. She told her 8-year-old brother that. What are you doing to my costume? It's supposed to be my costume. I was just trying it on, Noah said, his blue eyes staring down at her through the white and yellow duck mask. Did I scare you? Not a bit, Carly Beth lied. Now get up, you're heavy. He refused to budge. Why do you always want everything that's mine? Carly Beth demanded angrily. I don't, he replied. And why do you think it's so funny to try and scare me all the time? She asked. I can't help it if you get scared every time I say boo, he replied nastily. Get up, get up. He quacked a few more times, flapping the feathery wings, then he climbed to his feet. Can I have this costume? It's really neat. Carly Beth frowned and shook her head. You got feathers all over me. You're molten. Molting? What does that mean? Noah demanded. He pulled off the mask. His blonde hair was damp from sweat and matted against his head. It means you're going to be a bald duck, Carly Beth told him. I don't care. Can I have this costume? Noah asked. Examining the mask. It fits me, really. I don't know, Carly Beth told him. Maybe. The phone rang in her room. Get lost, okay? Go fly south of the winter or something, she said, and hurried to answer the phone. So this interaction, I don't think, took place in the show. This interaction kind of takes place after she already had the mask. Didn't it? Get lost and go fly south of the winter or something, she said, and hurried to answer the phone. As she ran to her desk, she saw white feathers all over her bed. That costume will never survive till Halloween, she thought. She picked up the receiver. Hello? Oh, hi, Sabrina. Yeah, I'm okay. Sabrina had called to remind Carly Beth that the school science fair was tomorrow. They had to finish their project, the model of the solar system constructed with ping pong balls. Yeah, see, that wasn't in the show. Yo, we're getting a lot more of the haunted mask lore in the book version. This is sick. Come over after dinner, Carly Beth told her. It's almost finished. We just have to paint it. My mom said she'll help us take it to school tomorrow. They chatted for a while. Then Carly Beth confided. I was so mad, Sabrina, at lunch today. Why do Chuck and Steve think it's so funny to do things like that to me? Sabrina was silent for a moment. I guess it's because you're so scareable, Carly Beth. Scareable? You scream so easily, Sabrina said. Other people get scared, but they're more quiet about it. You know Chuck and Steve. They don't really mean to be mean. They just think it's funny. Well, I don't think it's funny at all, Carly Beth replied unhappily. And I'm not going to be scareable anymore. I mean it. I'm not ever going to scream or get frightened again. The science project was all set up for judging on the stage in the auditorium. Mrs. Armburster, I'm just going to call her Armbuster because that sounds like a better name, the principal, and Mr. Smythe, the science teacher, walked from display to display, making notes on their clipboards. Oh, so we even get the science fair interaction with this. We get the world building, dude. We're not confined. This story, I think, is only like 60 pages. The solar system, as designed by Carly Beth and Sabrina, had survived the trip to school in pretty decent shape. Pluto had a slight dent in it, which the girls had struggled unsuccessfully to straighten out. And Earth kept coming loose from its string and bouncing across the floor. But both girls agreed to display that the display looked pretty good. Okay, well, you're probably going to get like a C then. Pretty good. Maybe it wasn't as impressive as Martin Goodman's project. Martin had built a computer from scratch. But Martin was a genius, and Carly Beth figured the judges couldn't expect everyone else to be geniuses too. Yeah. There's a few high achievers, dude. My honors chemistry teacher was not Mr. White at all. It was the polar opposite of a Mr. White, but she was crazy. She was nice. I felt bad because the class tortured her beyond belief. Ended up making her cry once. This is high school, bro. But that poor lady. Looking around the crowd, noisy stage, Carly Beth saw other interesting projects. Mary Sue Chong had built some sort of electronic arm, a robot arm that could pick up a cup or wave to people. That's pretty good, dude. OpenAI hire. And Brian Baldwin had several glass bottles filled with brown gunky stuff that he claimed was toxic waste. Someone had done a chemical analysis of the town's drinking water. That's pretty crazy. They gotta hire that kid. This is middle school, Walnut Avenue Middle School. And someone had built a volcano that would erupt when 2 judges came by. Our project is kind of boring, Sabrina whispered nervously to Carly Beth. Her eyes on the 2 judges were oohing and eyeing over Martin Goodman's homemade computer. I mean, it's just painted ping pong balls on a string. I like our project. Carly Beth insisted. We worked on it hard, Sabrina. I know, Sabrina replied fretfully. But it's still kind of boring. The volcano erupted, sending a gusher of red liquid. The judges appeared impressed. Several kids cheered. Uh-oh, here they come, Carly Beth whispered, jamming her hands into her jean pockets. She's trying to be cool. Mrs. Armbuster and Mr. Smythe smiles plastered across their faces were coming closer. At least they're in a good mood. They stopped to examine a display of light and crystals. Suddenly, Carly Beth heard an excited shout from somewhere behind her on the stage. My tarantula! Hey, my tarantula got out. She recognized Steve's voice. Where's my tarantula? He called. Several kids uttered startled cries. Some kids laughed. I'm not going to get scared, Carly Beth told herself, swallowing hard. Should have said gulping. She knew she was terrified of tarantulas. Who wouldn't be, though? Like, if a tarantula's crawling on your shoulder. But this time, she was determined not to show it. My tarantula, it got away, Steve shouted over the roar of excited voices. I'm not going to get scared. I'm not going to get scared, Carly Beth repeated to herself. But then she felt something pinch the back of her leg and dig its spiny pincer into her skin. Yo, if this thing's poisonous. And Carly Beth uttered a shrill scream of terror that rang throughout the auditorium. Carly Beth screamed and knocked over the solar system. She kicked her leg wildly, trying to toss off the tarantula. Ping pong ball planets bounced all over the floor. She screamed again, get it off me. Carly Beth, stop, Sabrina pleaded. You're okay, you're okay. It took Carly Beth a long time to realize that everyone was laughing. That's horrifying, though. She's valid in that. She's valid in both of them, dude. The worm in the beginning in the sandwich is that's such a mean-spirited prank. Like, you could have did anything, like, I don't know, make her sit in a whoopee cushion, put in a earthworm in her fucking tuna sandwich. Yeah, she took a long time to realize everyone was laughing, her heart pounding. She spun around to find Steve on his own, hands and knees behind her. He made a pinching motion with his thumb and finger. Gotcha again, he said, grinning up at her. No, Carly Beth cried. There was no tarantula, she realized. Steve had just pinched her leg. She raised her head and saw the kids all over the stage were laughing. Miss Armbuster and Mr. Smythe were laughing too. With a cry of anger, Carly Beth tried to kick Steve in the side. But he spun away, tried to John Jones body kick him. That's what he's going to need. These dudes are going to need... I like this in the book already. This makes it seem like they deserve it much more than in the show. Because in the show, I think the only prank they really did was the earthworm one. And I think that was it, more or less. Help me pick up the planets, she heard Sabrina say. But Sabrina seemed far, far away. All Carly Beth could hear was the pounding of her heart and the laughter of the kids all around her. Steve had climbed to his feet. He and Chuck were side by side, grinning at her, slapping each other. Oh, God, giving each other high fives, these guys, these animals to society. Carly Beth, help me, Sabrina pleaded. But Carly Beth spun away, jumped off the stage, and ran, escaping up the dock auditorium aisle. I'm going to pay Steve and Chuck back, she vowed angrily. Her sneakers thudding loudly up the concrete aisle. I'm going to scare them, really scare them. But how? Okay. What time should I meet you? Carly Beth asked, cradling the phone between her chin and shoulder. Oh, we're on a new chapter. That's why it's so abrupt. Chapter 6. So when it says like 12 and 6, 12 is the page, 6 would be the chapter. Okay, what time should I meet you? Carly Beth asked, cradling the phone between her chin and shoulder. On the other end of the line, Sabrina considered for a moment. How about 7:30? It was Halloween. The plan was to meet at Sabrina's house, then go trick-or-treating through the entire neighborhood. The earlier the better. We'll get more candy, Sabrina said. Did Steve call you? Yeah, he called, Carly Beth replied bitterly. Did he apologize? Yeah, he apologized, Carly Beth muttered, rolling her eyes. Big deal. I mean, he already made me look like a jerk in front of the entire school. What good is an apology? I think he felt bad, Sabrina replied. I hope he felt bad, Carly Beth exclaimed. It was so mean. It was a dirty trick. Sabrina agreed, and then she added, but you'll have to admit it was kind of funny. I don't have to admit anything, Carly Beth snapped. Has it stopped raining, Sabrina asked, changing the subject. Carly Beth pulled back the curtain to glance out her bedroom window. The evening sky was charcoal gray. Dark clouds hovered low, but the rain had stopped. The street glistened wetly under the light of the street lamp. No rain. I've got to go. See you at 7:30, Carly Beth said, speaking rapidly. Hey, wait, what's your costume? Sabrina demanded. It's a surprise, Carly Beth told her, and hung up. It'll be a surprise to me, too, she told herself, glancing unhappily at the feathery duck costume. Rolled up on the chair in the corner. Oh, that's where the costume's at, okay. Carly Beth's plan had been to go to the new party store after school and pick out the ugliest, most disgusting, scariest mask they had. But her mother had picked her up after school and insisted that she stay home and watch Noah for a couple of hours. Miss Caldwell hadn't returned home until 5:15. Now it was nearly 5:45. There was no way the party store would still be open, Carly Beth thought, frowning at the duck costume. Quack, quack, she said miserably. She walked to the mirror and ran a hairbrush through her hair. Maybe it's worth a try, she thought. Maybe that store stays open late on Halloween. There's a good chance. She pulled open her top dresser drawer and took out her wallet. Did she have enough money for a good scary mask? $30. Her life savings. She wadded up the bills and stuffed them back into the wallet. Then, jamming the wallet into her jean pocket, she grabbed her coat and hurried downstairs and out the front door. The evening air was cold and damp. Carly Beth struggled to zip her coat as she jogged toward the party store. The house next door had a glowing jack-o'-lantern in the front window. The house on the corner had paper skeletons strung up across the front porch. The wind howled through the bare trees. The branches above her head shook and rattled like bony arms. It's an interesting way to describe that. Excuse me. What a creepy night, Carly Beth thought. I love the Halloween vibe, the autumn air, the chill. Oh, it's the best. The freaking best, bro. She started running a little faster. A car rolled silently by, sending harsh white light floating across the sidewalk like a bright ghost. Glancing across the street, Carly Beth saw the old Carpenter mansion looming over its dark, weed-choked lawn. Everyone said the ramshackle old house was haunted by people who had been murdered inside of it 100 years ago. Once Carly Beth had heard frightening howls coming from the old mansion. When she was Noah's age, Steve Chuck and some other kids had dared each other to go up the house and knock on the door. Carly Beth had run home instead. She never did find out if the other kids were brave enough to do it. Now, Carly Beth felt a chill of fear as she hurried past the old house. She knew this neighborhood really well. She had lived in it her entire life. Yeah, but she's only like 12. Was it just the wet glow left by the rain? No, it was a heavy feeling in the air, a heavier darkness. The eerie orange glow of grinning pumpkins in windows, the silent cries of ghouls and monsters waiting to float free on their night to celebrate Halloween. Trying to force all the scary thoughts from her mind, Carly Beth turned the corner. The little party store came into view. The window was lighted, revealing 2 rows of Halloween masks staring out at the street. But was the store still open? Crossing her fingers, Carly Beth waited for a truck to rumble past, then eagerly jogged across the street. She stopped for a second to examine the masks in the window. There were gorilla masks, monster masks, some sort of blue-haired alien mask. Pretty good, she thought. These are pretty ugly, but they probably have even scarier ones inside. That's where all the scary ones, and that's where the haunted mask is, dude. Are you kidding me? The lights were on in the store. She peered through the glass door. Then she tried turning the knob. It didn't move. She tried again. She tried pulling the door open, and then she tried pushing. No way. She was too late. The store was closed. Carly Beth sighed and peered in through the glass. The walls of the tiny store were covered with masks. The masks seemed to stare back at her. They're laughing at me, she thought unhappily. Oh, man. She is a lunatic, dude. They do make her seem, because the way the actress portrays her in the show, that oh my god, the casting is perfect. Laughing at me because I'm too late. She's a mental case, bro. Because the store is closed and I'm going to have to be a stupid duck for Halloween. Suddenly, a dark shadow moved over the glass, blocking Carly Beth's view. She gasped and took a step back. It took her a moment to realize the shadow was a man in a black suit staring out at her. A look of surprise on his face. Are you closed? Carly Beth shouted through the glass. The man gestured that he couldn't hear her. He turned the lock and pulled the door open an inch. Can I help you? He asked curtly. He had shiny black hair, parted in the middle and slicked down on his head, and a pencil-thin black mustache. Oh, that description of that guy. I don't think the one in the show looked like that. Wasn't the one in the show kind of bald and they went with like a more Jamin type approach to him? This guy kind of sounded like Walt Disney, the way he looks. That would have been better. Are you open? Carly Beth asked timidly. I need a Halloween mask. It's very late. The man replied, not answering her question. He pulled the door open another few inches. We normally close at 5. I really would like to buy a mask, Carly Beth told him in the most determined voice. The man's tiny black eyes peered into hers. His expression remained blank. Come in, he said quietly. As Carly Beth stepped past him into the store, she saw that he wore a black cape. No red flags there, dude. It must be a Halloween costume, she told herself. I'm sure he doesn't wear that all the time. She turned her attention to the masks on the 2 walls. What kind of masks are you looking for? The man asked, closing the door behind him. No, boy, he's got a cape and he's closing the door. Get the fuck out of there. Carly Beth felt a stab of fear. Yeah, as would anyone, any normal person. His black eyes glowed like 2 burning coals. He seemed so strange. And here she was, locked in the closed store with him. A scary one, she stammered. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. He pointed to the wall. The gorilla mask has been very popular. It has real hair. I believe I may have one left in stock. Carly Beth stared up at the gorilla mask. She didn't really want to be a gorilla. It was too ordinary. It wasn't scary enough. Do you have anything scarier? She asked. He flipped his cape back, went over his shoulder in his black suit. How about that yellowish one with the pointy ears? He suggested, pointing. I believe it's some sort of Star Trek character. I still have a few of them, I believe. No, Carly Beth shook her head. I need something really scary. A strange smile formed under the man's thin mustache. His pedo stash, bro. His eyes burned into hers, as if trying to read her thoughts. Look around, he said with a sweep of his hand. Everything I have left in stock is up on the walls. Carly Beth turned her gaze to the masks. A pig mask with long, ugly tusks and a blood trickling from the snout caught her eye. She wants to be Tusk. That movie was so crazy. Pretty good, she thought, but not quite right. A hairy werewolf mask with white, pointy fangs was hung beside it. Again, too ordinary, Carly Beth decided. Her eyes glanced over a green Frankenstein mask, a Freddy Krueger mask that came with the Freddy's hand complete with long silvery blades for fingers, and an E.T. mask. Just not scary enough, Carly Beth thought, starting to feel a little desperate. I need something that will make Stephen Chuck die of fright. Young lady, I'm afraid I must ask you to make your choice, the man in the cape said softly. He had moved behind the narrow counter at the front and was turning a key in the cash register. We really are closed after all. I'm sorry, Carly Beth started. It's just that... The phone rang before she could finish explaining. The man picked it up quickly and began talking in a low voice, turning his back to Carly Beth. She wandered toward the back of the store, studying the masks as she walked. She passed a black cat mask with the long, ugly yellow fangs. A vampire mask with bright red blood trickling down its lips was hung next to a grinning, bald mask of Uncle Fester from the Addams Family. Not right, not right, not right, Carly Beth thought, frowning. She hesitated when she spotted a narrow door slightly open at the back of the store. Was there another room? Were there more masks back there? She glanced to the front. The man hidden behind his cape still had his back to her as he talked on the phone. Carly Beth gave the door a hesitant push to peek inside. The door creaked open. Pale orange light washed over the small, shadowy back room. Carly Beth stepped inside and gasped in amazement. 24 empty eye sockets stared blindly at Carly Beth. She gaped in horror at the distorted, deformed faces. They were masks, she realized. 2 shelves of masks. But the masks were so ugly, so grotesque, so real. They made her breath. What? They made her breathe catch in her throat? Made her breath catch in her throat? What does that mean? Like you're choking on nothing? Carly Beth gripped the door frame, reluctant to enter the tiny back room. Staring into the dim orange light, she studied the hideous masks. One mask had long, stringy yellow hair following over its bulging green forehead. A hairy black rat's head poked up from a knot in the hair, the rat's eyes gleaming like 2 dark jewels. Ugh. The mask beside it had a large nail stuck through an eye hole. Thick, wet-looking blood poured from the eye down the cheek. Chunks of rotting skin appeared to be falling off another mask, revealing gray bone underneath. An enormous black insect, some kind of grotesque beetle, poked out from between the green and yellow decayed teeth. The descriptions of the mask in this are much, because there's only so much you could do with the low budget show and probably the access to people they have with like the special effects and stuff. Carly Beth's horror mixed with excitement. She took a step into the room. The wooden floorboards creaked noisily beneath her. She took another step closer to the grotesque, grinning masks. They seemed so real, so horribly real. The faces had such detail. The skin appeared to be made of flesh, not rubber or plastic. These are perfect, she thought, her heart pounding. These are just what I was looking for. They looked terrifying, just propped up on these shelves. She imagined Steve and Chuck seeing one of these masks coming at them from the dark night. She pictured herself uttering a blood-curdling scream and leaping out from behind a tree in one of them. She's envisioning the plan. Mental. She imagined the horrified expressions of the boys' faces. She pictured Steve and Chuck shrieking in terror and running for their lives. Perfect, perfect. What a laugh that would be. What a victory. Carly Beth took a deep breath and stepped up to the shelves. Her eyes settled on an ugly mask on the lower shelf. It had a bulging, bald head. Its skin was a putrid yellow-green. Its enormous, sunken eyes were an eerie orange and seemed to glow. It had a broad, flat nose, smashed in like a skeleton's nose. The dark-lipped mouth gaped wide, revealing jagged animal fangs. Staring hard at the hideous mask, Carly Beth reached out a hand toward it. Reluctantly, she touched the broad forehead. And as she touched it, the mask cried out, "Ah!" Carly Beth shrieked and jerked back her hand. The mask grinned at her. Its orange eyes glowed brightly. The lips appeared to curl back over the fangs. She suddenly felt dizzy. What is going on here? As she staggered back away from the shelves, she realized that the angry cry hadn't come from the mask. It had come from behind her. Oh, okay. Well, you could feel that in space. Like you feel obviously. You can hear it from behind you. You stupid idiot, Carly. Carly Beth spun around to see the black, caped store owner glaring at her from the doorway. His eyes flashed. His mouth was turned down into a menacing frown. Oh, I thought, Carly Beth started it, glancing back at the mask. She still felt confused. Her heart pounded loudly in her chest. I am sorry you saw these, the man said in a low, threatening voice. He took a step toward her, his cape brushing the doorway. What is he going to do? Carly Beth wondered, uttering in a horrified gasp. Why is he coming at me like that? What is he going to do to me? I'm so sorry, he repeated, his small, dark eyes burning into hers. He took another step closer. Carly Beth backed away from him. Then she uttered a startled cry as she backed into the display shelves. The hideous masks jiggled and quacked, as if alive. What do you mean? She managed to choke out. I'm sorry you saw these because they are not for sale, the man said softly. He stepped past her and straightened one of the masks on the stand. Carly Beth breathed a loud sigh of relief. He didn't mean to scare me, she told herself. I am scaring myself. She crossed her arms in front of her coat and tried to force her heartbeat to return to normal. She stepped to the side as the store owner continued to arrange the masks, handling them carefully, brushing their hair with one hand, tenderly dusting off the bulging, blood-covered foreheads. Not for sale, why? Carly Beth demanded. Her voice came out tiny and shrill. Too scary, the man replied. He turned to smile at her. But I want a really scary one, Carly Beth told him. I want that one. She pointed to the mask she had touched, the mask with the open mouth and its terrifying jagged fangs. Too scary, the man repeated, pushing his cape behind his shoulder. But it's Halloween, Carly Beth protested. I have a really scary gorilla mask, the man said, motioning for Carly Beth to go back to the front room. Very scary. Looks like it's growling. I will give you a good price on it since it's so late. Carly Beth shook her head, her arms crossed defiantly in front of her. A gorilla mask won't scare Stephen Chuck, she said. He's like... The man's expressions changed. Who? My friends, she told him. I have to have that one, she insisted. It's so scary. I'm almost afraid to touch it. It's perfect. It's too scary, the man repeated, lowering his eyes to it. He ran his hand over the green forehead. I can't take the responsibility. It's so real looking, Carly Beth gushed. They'll both faint. I know they will. Then they'll never try to scare me again. Young lady, the store owner started glancing impatiently at his watch. I really must insist that you make up your mind. I am a patient man, but please, Carly Beth begged. Please sell it to me. Here, look. She dug into her jean pocket and pulled out the money she had brought. Young lady, $30, Carly Beth said, shoving the wadded up cash bills into the man's hands. I'll give you $30 for it. That's enough, isn't it? It's not a matter of money, he told her. These masks are not for sale, with an exasperated sigh. He started towards the doorway that led to the front of the store. Please, I need it. I really need it, Carly Beth begging, chasing after him. These masks are too real, he insisted, gesturing up to the shelves. I'm warning you, please, please. He shut his eyes. You will be sorry. No, I won't. I know I won't, Carly Beth exclaimed gleefully, seeing that he was about to give in. He opened his eyes, shook his head. She could see that he was debating with himself. I mean, for $30, dude, his rent's due. He shook his head. She could see that he was debating with himself. With a sigh, he tucked the money into his coat pocket. Then he carefully lifted the mask from the shelf, straightening the pointed ears, and started to hand it to her. Thanks, she cried, eagerly snatching the mask from his hands. It's perfect, perfect. She held the mask by the flat nose. It felt soft and surprisingly warm. Thanks again, she cried, hurrying to the front. The mask gripped tightly in her hand. Can I give you a bag for it? The man called after her. But Carly Beth was already out of the store. She crossed the street and started to run toward home. The sky was black. No stars poked through. The streets still glistened wetly from the afternoonish rain. This is going to be the best trick-or-treat night ever, Carly Beth thought happily. Dude, so that whole interaction is pretty different in the other one, because in the show, granted, yet again, it's only, I guess a grand total of 40 minutes, split into two parts, but in the store, she wasn't really begging. She was like just kind of petrified the whole time, and then she stole it from him. Remember, she goes, here's your money, and she throws it and then grabs it and runs. He doesn't sell it to her. I guess, I mean, he didn't care enough to really chase after her. He needed that $30, but She couldn't wait to spring out at Steve and Chuck. She wondered what their costumes would be. They had both talked about painting their faces blue and dyeing their hair blue and being Smurfs. Lame, really lame. Carly Beth stopped under a streetlight and held up the mask, gripping it with both hands by its pointed ears. It grinned up at her, the two crooked rows of fangs hanging over its thick, rubbery lips. Then, tucking it carefully under one arm, she ran the rest of the way home. Stopping at the bottom of the driveway, she gazed up at her house. The front windows are all glowing brightly, the porch light sending white light over the lawn. I've got to try this mask out on someone, she thought eagerly. I've got to see just how good it is. Her brother's grinning face popped into her mind. Noah, of course, she said out loud. Noah has really been asking for it. Grinning gleefully, Carly Beth hurried to the drive, eager to make Noah her first victim. Man, Carly Beth crept silently through the front door and tossed her coat into the entryway floor. The house felt stuffy and hot. A sweet smell of the aroma of hot cider on the stove greeted her. Mom really gets into holidays, she thought with a smile. Tiptoeing through the front hallway, holding the mask in front of her, Carly Beth listened hard. Noah, where are you? Where are you, my little guinea pig? Noah was always bragging about how he was so much braver than Carly Beth. He was always putting bugs down her back, implanted rubber snakes in her bed, anything he could think of to make her scream. She heard footsteps above her head. Noah must be up in his room, she realized. He's probably putting on his Halloween costume. At the last minute, Noah had decided he wanted to be a cockroach. Yeah, this kid's such an idiot, bro. Be like a Power Ranger. What are you talking about being a roach? Weirdo. The mom has raised some pretty odd kids, bro. I will say, like, it's oh man. Miss Caldwell had dashed frantically all over the house, finding the materials to build pointy feelers and a hard shell for his back. To build pointy feelers and a hard shell for his back. So yeah, she's building his cockroach costume too. He wasn't a cockroach in the show, was he? I thought he was like some sort of like whack-ass off-brand superhero or something. I gotta go back. If he's wearing a roach costume in that, I feel like I would have remembered that. That's crazy. Well, the little bug is in for a surprise, Carly Beth thought evilly. She examined her mask. This should send that cockroach scampering under the sink. She stopped at the bottom of the stairs. She could hear loud music coming from Noah's room, an old heavy metal song. Gripping the mask by the rubbery neck, she raised it carefully over her head, then pulled it down slowly. It was surprisingly warm inside. That is what she said. That is crazy. The mask fit tighter than Carly Beth had imagined. It had a funny smell, kind of sour, kind of old, like damp newspaper, and had been left for years in an attic or garage. That's so gross. At least wash it first, dude. What? She slid it all the way down until she could see through the eye holes. Then she smoothed the bulging bald head over her head and tugged the neck down. I should have stopped in front of a mirror, she fretted. I can't see if it looks right. The mask felt very tight. I know she probably looks like an idiot, like wearing a kid's Spider-Man costume or something. Her breathing echoed noisily in the flat nose. She forced herself to ignore the sour smell that invaded her nose. She held on tightly to the banister as she crept up the stairs. It was hard to see the steps through the eye holes. She had to take the climb down one step at a time. The heavy metal music ended as she stepped onto the landing. She crept silently down the hall and stopped outside Noah's door. Carly Beth edged her head into the doorway and peeked into the brightly lit room. Carly Beth was standing in front of the mirror, adjusting the two long cockroach feelers above his head. Oh my god, dude. Noah, I'm coming for you, Carly Beth called. To her surprise, her voice came out gruff and low. I forgot it does that. She gets the evil voice when she puts it on. Chuck and Steve, when she starts talking like that. It wasn't her voice at all. Huh? Startled, Noah spun around. Noah, I've got you, Carly Beth shrieked, her voice deep, raspy, evil. No, her brother uttered in a hushed cry of protest. Even under his bug makeup, Carly Beth could see him go pale. She darted into the room, her arms outstretched as if ready to grab him. "No, please!" he cried, his expression terrified. "Who are you? How did you get in?" He doesn't even recognize me, Carly Beth thought gleefully. And he's scared to death. Was it the hideous face, the deep rumble of a voice, or both? Carly Beth didn't care. The mask was definitely a success. "I've got you," she screamed, surprising herself at how scary her voice sounded from inside the mask. "No, please," Noah begged. Mom. He backed toward the bed, trembling all over, his feelers quivering in fright. "Mom, help!" Carly Beth burst out laughing. The laughter come out in a deep rumble. "It's me, stupid," she cried. "What, a yellow-bellied scaredy cat, huh?" Still huddled by the bed, Noah stared hard at her. "Don't you recognize my jeans? My sweater? It's me, you idiot," Carly Beth declared in a gruff voice. "But your face, that mask," Noah stammered. It really scared me. I mean, he gaped. He gaped at her, studying the mask. "It didn't sound like you," Carly Beth muttered. "I thought..." Carly Beth tugged at the bottom of the mask, trying to lift it off. It felt hot and sticky. She was panting noisily. She tried pulling the bottom with both hands. The mask didn't budge. She raised her hands to the pointed ears and tried lifting it off. She tugged harder. She tried pulling the mask off by the top of the head. It didn't move. "Hey, it won't come off," she cried. "The mask, it won't come off." "What's going on here?" Carly Beth cried, tugging at the mask with both hands. "Stop it," Noah cried. His voice sounded angry, but his eyes revealed fear. "Stop kidding around, Carly Beth. You're scaring me." "I'm not kidding around," Carly Beth insisted in her harsh, raspy voice. "I really can't get this off." "Take it off. You're not funny," her brother shouted. With great effort, Carly Beth managed to slip her fingers under the neck of the mask. Then she pulled it away from her skin and lifted it off her head. Whew. The air felt so cool and sweet. She took her hair free. She shook her hair free. Then she playfully tossed the mask at Noah. "Good mask, huh?" She grinned at him. He let the mask bounce onto the bed. Then he picked it up hesitantly and examined it. "Where'd you get it?" he asked, poking a finger against the ugly fangs. "At that new party store," she told him, wiping perspiration from her forehead. "It's so hot inside." "Can I try it on?" Noah asked, pushing his fingers through the eye holes. "Not now, I'm late," she replied sharply. She laughed. "You sure looked scared." He tossed the mask back at her, frowning. "I was just pretending," he said. "I knew it was you for sure," she replied. Rolling her eyes. She's a little eye roller in this one, dude. She got mad attitude. The sass. "That's why you screamed like a maniac." "I did not scream," Noah protested. "I was just putting on an act." Yeah, right," Carly Beth muttered. "Alright, they're annoying, dude." She turned and headed toward the door, rolling the mask over her hand. "How'd you change your voice like that?" Noah called after her. Carly Beth stopped at the doorway and turned back at him. Her smile gave way to a puzzled expression. "That deep voice was the scariest part," Noah said, staring at the mask in her hand. "How did you do that?" "I don't know," Carly Beth replied thoughtfully. "I really don't know." By the time she got to her room, she was grinning again. The mask had worked. It had been a wonderful success. Noah might not want to admit it, but when Carly Beth burst in on him, growling through the hideous mask, he nearly jumped out of his cockroach shell. "Look out, Chuck and Steve," she thought gleefully. "You're next." She sat down on her bed and glanced at the clock radio on her bed table. She had a few minutes until it was time to meet everyone in front of Sabrina's house. Time enough to think of the best possible way to give them the scare of their lives. "I don't want to just jump out at them," Carly Beth thought, playing with her fingers over the sharp fangs. "That's too boring. I want to do something they'll remember. Something they'll never forget." She ran her hands over the mask's pointy ears. Suddenly she had an idea. Carly Beth pulled the old broom handle from the closet. She brushed off a thick ball of dust and examined the long wooden pole. Perfect, she thought. She checked to make sure her mother was still in the kitchen. She was sure that the mom wouldn't approve of what Carly Beth was about to do, Ms. Caldwell still thought that Carly Beth was going to wear the duck costume. The mom's oblivious. Tiptoeing silently into the living room, Carly Beth stepped up to the mantel and pulled down the plaster of Paris head her mother had sculpted. It really does look just like me, Carly Beth thought, holding the sculpture waist high and studying it carefully. It's so lifelike. Mom really is talented. Carefully, she placed the head on the broomstick. It balanced easily. She carried it over to the hallway mirror. It looks like I'm carrying my real head on a stick, Carly Beth thought, admiring it. A wide grin broke out across her face. Her eyes sparkled gleefully. Excellent. She leaned the head and stick against the wall and pulled on the mask. Once again, the sour aroma rushed into her nostrils. The heat of the mask seemed to wrap around her. The mask tightened against her skin as she pulled it down. Raising her eyes to the mirror, she nearly frightened herself. It's like a real face, she thought. Unable to take her eyes away, my eyes seem a part of it. It doesn't look as if I'm peering out of eye holes. She moved the gruesome mouth up and down a few times. It moves like a real mouth, she realized. It doesn't look like a mask at all. It looks like a gross, deformed face. Working with both hands, she flattened the bulging forehead, smoothing it over her hair. Excellent, she repeated to herself, feeling her excitement grow. Excellent. The mask is perfect, she decided. She couldn't believe the man in the party store didn't want to sell it to her. I think we know why. He could have been the hero of this story. I do like the rendition of him better in this one. He looks like Walt Disney. He's got a cape and shit. Although the man in the show might have had a cape too. It was the scariest, realest, ugliest mask she had ever seen. I will be the terror of Maple Avenue tonight. Oh my god. The terror of Maple Avenue is such a... Kids will be having nightmares about me for weeks. In the book, it really does make it seem like she's way more evil. She wants to get them good. Especially Chuck and Steve, she told herself. Boo, she muttered to herself, pleased to hear that the gruff voice had returned. I'm ready. She picked up the broomstick, carefully balanced her sculpted head on top of it, and started for the door. Her mother's voice stopped her. Carly Beth, wait up, Miss Caldwell called from the kitchen. I want to see how you look in the duck costume. Uh-oh, Carly Beth groaned out loud. Mom isn't going to like this. Carly Beth froze in the doorway. She could hear her mother's footsteps approaching in the hallway. Let me see you, dear, Miss Caldwell called. Did the costume fit? Maybe I should have told her about my change of plans, Carly Beth thought guiltily. I would have said something, but I didn't want to hurt Mom's feelings. Now she's in for a shock. And she's going to be really angry when she sees I borrowed her sculpture. She's going to make me put it back on the mantle. So is she not going to get away with it? Because in the show, she's like, all right, bye, Mom. She leaves. The mom doesn't even know. She's going to ruin everything. I'm kind of in a hurry, Mom, Carly Beth called, in her voice deep and raspy inside the mask. I'll see you later, okay? She pulled open the front door. You can wait 1 second while I see my costume on you, her mother called. She rounded the corner and came into view. I'm sunk, Carly Beth thought with a groan. I'm caught. The phone rang. The sound echoed loudly inside Carly Beth's mask. Her mother stopped and turned back to the kitchen. Oh darn, I'd better answer that. It's probably your father calling from Chicago. She disappeared back into the kitchen. I'll have to see you later. Carly Beth, be careful, okay? Carly Beth breathed a sigh of relief. Things are getting intense. Saved by the bell, she thought. Carly Beth, where is it? Balancing the head on the broomstick, she hurried out the door. She closed the door behind her and jogged down the front yard. It had become a clear, cool night. A pale half-moon rose low over the bare trees. Fat brown leaves swirled around her ankles as she headed to the sidewalk. The plan was to meet Chuck and Steve in front of Sabrina's house. Carly Beth couldn't wait. Her head bobbed and bounced on the broomstick as she ran. The house on the corner had been decorated for Halloween. Orange lights ran along the top of the stoop. 2 large smiling pumpkin cutouts stood beside the doorway. A cardboard skeleton had been propped up at the end of the front walk. I love Halloween, Carly Beth thought happily. She crossed the street onto Sabrina's block. On other Halloween nights, she had been frightened. Her friends were always playing mean tricks on her. Last year, Steve had slipped a very real-looking rubber rat into her trick-or-treat bag. Why is she friends with these guys, then, if she's got such a problem with this? They are kind of rude. At least this Chuck and Steve. But then Sabrina, I guess, too, is because she's not sticking up for her homegirl. Because, like, yo, she's being traumatized, bro. Like, they put a worm in her food. If they did that to her, she wouldn't be too happy about it. When Carly Beth had reached into the bag, she felt something soft and hairy. She pulled out the rat and shrieked at the top of her lungs. Oh boy, here we go. She was so scared, she spilled her candy all over the driveway. Chuck and Steve thought it was a riot, so did Sabrina. They always spoiled Halloween for her. They thought it was so hilarious to scare Carly Beth and make her scream. Well, this year I won't be the one screaming, she thought. This year I'll be the one making everyone else scream. Man. Sabrina's house was at the end of the block. As Carly Beth hurried toward it, bare tree limbs shivered above her. The half moon disappeared behind a heavy cloud, and the ground darkened. The head on the broom handle bounced and nearly fell off. Carly Beth slowed her pace. She glanced up at the head, shifting her grip on the broomstick. The eyes on the sculpted head stared straight ahead, as if watching out for trouble. In the darkness, the head looked real, the shadows moving over it as Carly Beth walked under the bare tree limbs made the eyes and mouth appear to be moving. Hearing laughter, Carly Beth turned. Across the street, a group of trick-or-treaters was invading a brightly lit front porch. In the yellow porch light, Carly Beth saw a ghost, a mutant ninja turtle, a Freddy Krueger, and a princess in a pink ball gown and a tinfoil crown. The kids were little. Two mothers watched them from the foot of the driveway. Carly Beth watched them get their candy. Then she walked the rest of the way to Sabrina's house. She climbed the front stoop, stepping into a white triangle of light from the porch light. She could hear voices inside the house. Sabrina shouting something to her mother. So they skipped that too. Because I think before she goes to Sabrina's house, she terrorizes the trick-or-treaters, because then the mom's like, hey, that's not nice. That was the most, I think that was the best part of the show. Doesn't she scare the living shit out of the little trick-or-treaters? Carly Beth adjusted her mask with her free hand. She straightened the gaping, fanged mouth. She's getting ready. Then she checked to make sure the head was balanced on the broomstick. She reached to ring Sabrina's doorbell, then stopped. Voices behind her, she turned and squinted into the darkness. Two costumed boys were approaching, shoving each other playfully on the sidewalk. Chuck and Steve. Just in time, Carly Beth thought happily. She leapt off the stoop and crouched behind a low evergreen shrub. Okay, guys, she thought eagerly, her heart pounding. Get ready for a scare. Carly Beth peered over the top of the shrub. The two boys were halfway up the drive. It was too dark to get a good look at their costumes. One of them wore a long overcoat and a wide-brimmed Indiana Jones fedora. She couldn't really see the other one. Carly Beth took a deep breath and prepared to leap out at them. She gripped the broomstick tightly. My whole body is trembling, she realized. The mask suddenly felt hot, as if her excitement had heated it up. Her breath rattled noisily in the flat nose. Walking slowly, playfully blocking each other with their shoulders like football linemen, the boys made their way up the driveway. One of them said something Carly Beth couldn't hear. The other one laughed loudly, a high-pitched giggle. Peering into the darkness, Carly Beth watched them until they were nearly right in front of the shrub. Okay, now, she declared silently. Raising the broomstick with its staring head on the top, she leapt out. The boys shrieked, startled. She could see their eyes go wide as they gaped at her mask. A ferocious roar escaped her throat, a deep rumbling howl that frightened even her. At the terrifying sound, both boys cried out again. One of them actually dropped to his knees on the driveway. They both stared up at the head, bobbing on the broomstick. It seemed to glare down at them. Another howl escaped Carly Beth's throat. It started low, as if coming from far away, and then pierced the air raspy and deep, like the roar of an angry creature. No! One of the boys cried. Who are you? The other cried. Leave us alone. Carly Beth Hood heard rapid footsteps crunching over the dead leaves in the driveway. Looking up, she saw a woman in a bulky down coat running up the drive. "Hey, what are you doing?" the woman demanded, her voice shrill and angry. "Are you scaring my kids?" "Huh?" Carly Beth swallowed hard. She turned her eyes back to the two frightened boys. "Wait," she cried, realizing they weren't Chuck and Steve. "What are you doing?" the woman repeated breathlessly. She stepped up to the two boys and put a hand on each of their shoulders. "Are you two okay?" "Yeah, we're okay, Mom," the one in the overcoat and fedora replied. The other boy wore white makeup and a red clown nose. She jumped at us," he told his mother, avoiding Carly Beth's stare. "She kinda scared us." The woman turned angrily to Carly Beth and shook her finger at her accusingly. "Don't you have anything better to do than scare two young boys? Why don't you pick on someone your own age?" Normally, Carly Beth would have apologized. She would have explained to the woman that she made a mistake, that she meant to scare two different boys. I think I do remember something vague like this in the show, because I think she goes, "Wait, you two aren't Chuck and Steve," but I don't know. I could have sworn she just scared the neighborhood kids just to like test it out. I could have sworn that was in the show version. But hidden behind the ugly mask, still hearing the strange howl that had burst so unexpectedly from her throat, she didn't feel like apologizing. She felt anger. And she wasn't sure why. "Go away," she rasped, waving the broomstick menacingly. Her head stared down at the two startled boys. "What did you say?" their mother demanded, her voice tight with growing outrage. "What did you say?" "I said go away," Carly Beth snarled in a deep voice, so terrifying that it frightened even her. The woman crossed her arms in front of the heavy down coat. Her eyes narrowed on Carly Beth. "Who are you? What is your name?" she demanded. "Do you live around here?" "Mom, let's just go," the boy with the clown face urged, tugging at her coat sleeve. "Yeah, come on," his brother pleaded. "Go away, I'm warning you," Carly Beth growled. The woman stood her ground, her arms tightly crossed. Her eyes narrowed at Carly Beth. "Just because it's Halloween doesn't give you the right." "Mom, we want to get some candy," the clown pleaded, tugging his mother's sleeve harder. "Come on, we're wasting the whole night," his brother complained. Carly Beth was breathing hard, her breath escaping the mask in low, noisy grunts. She's snarling under the... This is all making the show visuals come back to me, because she was like she was turning demon mode. Best acting by far in that show. That and Anakin Skywalker in the third Goosebumps one of the doll. "I sound like an animal," she thought, puzzled. "What is happening to me?" She could feel her anger growing. Her breathing rattled noisily in the tight mask. Her face felt burning hot. Her anger raged through her chest. Her entire body was trembling. She felt about to burst. "I'm about to tear this woman apart," Carly Beth decided. "I'll chew her to bits. I'll tear her skin off her bones." Furious thoughts raged through Carly Beth's mind. She tensed her muscles, crouched low, and prepared to pounce. But before she could make her move, the two boys pulled their mother away. "Let's go, Mom. Yeah, let's go. She's crazy." "Yeah, I'm crazy. Crazy, crazy!" The word repeated, roaring through Carly Beth's mind. The mask grew hotter, tighter. Better, faster, stronger. The woman gave Carly Beth one last cold stare. Then she turned and led the two boys down the driveway. Carly Beth stared after them, panting loudly. She had a strong urge to chase after them, to really scare them, but a loud cry made her stop and spin around. Sabrina stood on the front stoop, leaning on the storm door, her mouth open in a wide O of surprise. "Who's there?" she cried, squinting into the darkness. Sabrina was dressed as Catwoman, with the silver and gray catsuit beneath a silver mask. Her black hair was pulled tightly behind her head. Her dark eyes stared intently at Carly Beth. "Don't you recognize me?" Carly Beth rasped, stepping closer. She should see the fright in Sabrina's eyes. Sabrina gripped the door handle tightly, standing half in and half out of her house. "Don't you recognize me, Sabrina?" She waved the head on the broomstick as if giving her friend a clue. Sabrina gasped and raised her hand to her mouth as she noticed the head on the pole. "Carly Beth, is that you?" she stammered. Her eyes darted from the mask to the head and then back again. "Hi, Sabrina," Carly Beth growled. "It's me." Sabrina continued to study her. "That mask," she cried finally. "It's excellent, really excellent. It's so scary." "I like your catsuit," Carly Beth told her. Stepping closer into the light, Sabrina's eyes were raised to the top of the broomstick. "That head, it's so real." I remember the visual in the show. It's hilarious. "That head, it's so real. Where did you get it?" "It's my real head," Carly Beth joked. Sabrina continued to stare at it. "Carly Beth, when I first saw it, my mom made it," Carly Beth told her. "In her art class. I thought it was a real head," Sabrina said. She shivered. The eyes, the way they stare at you. Carly Beth shook the broomstick, making the head nod. Sabrina studied Carly Beth's mask. "Wait till Chuck and Steve see your costume. I can't wait," Carly Beth thought darkly. "Where are they?" she demanded, glancing back to the street. "Steve called," Sabrina replied. "He said they'd be late. He has to take his little sister trick-or-treating before he can meet us." Carly Beth sighed, disappointed. "We'll start without them," Sabrina suggested. "They can catch up to us later." "Yeah, okay," Carly Beth replied. "I'll get my coat and we can go," Sabrina said. She took one last lingering look at the head on the broomstick. Then the storm door slammed shut with a bang as she disappeared inside to get her coat. The wind picked up as the two girls made their way down the block. Dead leaves swirled at their feet. The bare trees bent and shivered. Above the dark sloping roofs, the pale half moon slipped in and out of the clouds. Sabrina muttered about all the problems she'd had with her costume. The first catsuit she had bought had a long run in one leg and had to be returned. Then Sabrina couldn't find a cat-eyed mask that looked right. Carly Beth remained quiet. She couldn't hide her disappointment at that Chuck and Steve hadn't met up with them as planned. What if they never catch up to us, she wondered. What if we don't see them at all? The whole point of this night, as far as Carly Beth was concerned, was meeting the two boys and scaring the living daylights out of them. Sabrina had given her a shopping bag to put her candy in. As they walked, Carly Beth gripped the bag in one hand, struggling to keep the head balanced on the pole in her other hand. "So where did you buy your mask? Your mother didn't make that, did she? Did you go to that new party store? Can I touch it?" That's what she said. Sabrina always talked a lot, but tonight she was going for a world record of non-stop chatter, certified yapping. Carly Beth obediently stopped so that her friend could touch the mask. Sabrina pressed her finger against the cheek, then instantly jerked them back. "Oh, it feels like skin," Carly Beth laughed. A scornful laugh she had never heard before. "Yuck, what is it made of?" Sabrina demanded. "It isn't skin, is it? It's some kind of rubber, right?" I guess," Carly Beth muttered. "Then how come it's so warm?" Sabrina asked. "Is it uncomfortable to wear? You must be sweating like a pig." Feeling a surge of rage, Carly Beth dropped the bag and the broomstick. "Shut up, shut up, shut up," she snarled. "Oh my God." Then with an angry howl, she grabbed Sabrina's throat with both hands and began to choke her. "What?" Sabrina uttered a shocked cry and staggered back, pulling herself from Carly Beth's grip. Carly Beth!" she sputtered. "What is happening to me?" Carly Beth wondered, gaping in horror at her friend. "Why did I do that?" Gotcha," Carly Beth exclaimed. She laughed. "You should have seen the look on your face, Sabrina. Did you think I was really choking you?" Sabrina rubbed her neck with one silver-gloved hand. She frowned at her friend. "That was a joke? You scared me to death." Carly Beth laughed again. "Just keeping in character," she said lightly, pointing to her mask. "You know, trying to get in the right mood. I like scaring people, you know. Usually I'm the one who's trembling in fright." She picked up the bag and broomstick, fixing the plaster of Paris hat on the top. Then she hurried up the nearest driveway toward a well-lighted house with a Happy Halloween banner in the front of the window. Did Sabrina believe it was just a joke? Carly Beth asked herself as she raised her shopping bag and rang the doorbell. I remember, yeah, she didn't choke her in the show. It ended with her, she was like, she had her shoulders, she was like, shut up, shut up, shut up. And then it was bang to part 2. She didn't choke her. That definitely adds a whole different element. That shows that the monster really was. That gets it across a lot more. But yet again, it's a kid show. So they're not gonna have Carly Beth strangling her best friend in the middle of the street on Halloween, bro. Oh man, what on earth was I doing? Why did I suddenly get so angry? Why did I attack my best friend like that? Why did I suddenly... Oh, I just read that. Sabrina stepped up beside her at the front of as the front door was pulled open. 2 little blonde kids, a boy and a girl, appeared in the doorway. Their mother stepped up behind them. Trick or treat, Carly Beth and Sabrina called out in unison. Oh, that's a scary mask, the woman said to her 2 children, grinning at Carly Beth. What are you supposed to be, a cat? The little boy asked Sabrina. Sabrina meowed at him. I'm Catwoman, she told him. I don't like the other one, the little girl exclaimed to her mother. She's calling you fugly, bro. It's too scary. It's just a funny mask, the mother assumed, her daughter assured. Too scary, it's scaring me, the little girl insisted. Carly Beth leaned into the entryway of the house, bringing her grotesque face up close to the little girl. I'll eat you up, she growled nastily. The little girl screamed and disappeared into the house. Her brother stared wide-eyed at Carly Beth. He's like, shell shock. Maybe this is what I'm getting confused of not scaring just a bunch of random trick-or-treaters. You shouldn't have scared her, she said softly. She has nightmares. Instead of apologizing, Carly Beth turned to the little boy. I'll eat you up too, she snarled. Hey, stop, the woman protested. I hate the way he writes that. He likes that word, protested. What do you mean writing protested? Carly Beth laughed a deep-throated laugh, jumping off the porch and took off across the front lawn. Why did you do that? Sabrina asked as they made their way across the street. Why'd you scare those kids like that? The mask made me do it, Carly Beth replied. She meant it as a joke, but the thought troubled her mind. At the next few houses, Carly Beth hung back and let Sabrina do the talking. At one house, a middle-aged man in a torn blue sweater pretended to be scared of Carly Beth's mask. You don't pretend, because then that's going to be a world of hurt, bro. His wife insisted that the girls come inside so that they could show their elderly mother the gray costumes. This wasn't in the show. Carly Beth groaned loudly, but followed Sabrina into the house. The old woman gazed at them blankly from her wheelchair. You think the grandmother would want to see this? She's sitting in there like Hector from Breaking Bad. The ding, ding, ding. She's sitting there like that. That's what she wants. She wants to see some possessed demon child and a cat. Those aren't even that impressive costumes. The old woman gazed at them blankly from the wheelchair. Carly Beth growled at her, but it didn't appear to make any impression. What the hell? On their way out the door, the man in the torn sweater handed each girl a green apple. Oh, fucking, yo, you gotta TP that house. He's giving out green apples, and he's like trying to make you dance like a monkey for the fucking grandmother. Yo, show her your growl. That's so weird. Carly Beth waited until they were down the sidewalk. Then she turned, pulled back her arm, and heaved the apple at the man's house with all her might. It made a loud thunk as it smacked against the shingles front wall near the front door. I really hate getting apples on Halloween, Carly Beth declared. Especially green ones. Carly Beth, I'm worried about you, Sabrina cried, eyeing her friend with concern. You're not acting like you at all. No, I'm not a pitiful, frightened little mouse tonight, Carly Beth thought bitterly. Give me that, she ordered Sabrina, and grabbed Sabrina's apple from her bag. Hey, stop, Sabrina protested. But Carly Beth arched her arm and tossed Sabrina's apple at the house. It changed noisily as it hit the aluminum gutter. The man in the torn sweater poked his head out the door. Hey, what's the big deal? Run, Carly Beth screamed. The 2 girls took off, running at full speed down the block. They didn't stop until the house was out of sight. Sabrina grabbed Carly Beth's shoulders and held on, struggling to catch her breath. You're crazy, she gasped. You're really crazy. It takes one to know one, Carly Beth said playfully. She is losing it, bro. I like this. I like seeing the more instances because, like, the choking's more serious and humming an apple at a house. Like, dude, you can fucking bust the window easily like that. And she took 2 shots. She's like, give me your fucking apple too. Bang. Carly Beth searched the block, looking for Chuck and Steve. She saw a small group of costumed kids huddled together at the corner, but had no sign of the two boys. Smaller houses jammed closer together lined the two sides of this block. "Let's split up," Carly Beth suggests, leaning against the broomstick. "We'll get more candy that way." Sabrina frowned at her friend, eyeing her suspiciously. "Carly Beth, you don't even like candy," she exclaimed. But Carly Beth was already running up the driveway to the first house, her sculpted head bobbing widely above her on the broomstick. "This is my night," Carly Beth thought, accepting a candy bar from the smiling woman who answered the door. My night! She felt a tingle of excitement she'd never felt before, and a strange feeling she couldn't describe. A hunger. A few minutes later, her shopping bag started to feel heavy. She came to the end of the block. She hesitated on the corner, trying to decide whether to do the other side of the street or go to the next block. It was very dark there, she realized. The moon had once again disappeared behind dark clouds. The corner steer light was out, probably burned out. Across the street, 4 very young trick-or-treaters were giggling as they approached a house with a jack-o'-lantern on the porch. Carly Beth sank back into the darkness. She heard voices, boys' voices. Chuck and Steve? No. The voices were unfamiliar. They were arguing about where to trick-or-treat next. One of them wanted to go and call a friend. How about a little scare for you guys, Carly Beth thought, a smile spreading across her face. How about something to remember this Halloween night? She waited, listening until they were a few feet away. She could see them now, 2 mummies, their faces wrapped in gauze. Closer, closer. She waited the perfect moment. Then she burst from the shadows, uttering an ugly animal howl that shattered the air. The 2 boys gasped and jumped back. "Hey!" One of them tried to shout, but his voice caught in his throat. The other one dropped his bag of candy as he started to pick it up. Carly Beth moved quickly. She grabbed the bag from his hand, jerked it away from him, and started to run. "Come back, that's mine! Hey!" Their voices were high and shrill, filled with fear and surprise. As she ran across the street, Carly Beth glanced back to see if they were following her. No. They were too frightened. They stood huddled together on the corner, shouting after her. Holding the stolen candy bag tightly in her free hand, Carly Beth tossed back her head and laughed. A cruel laugh, a triumphant laugh. A laugh she had never heard before. She emptied the boy's candies into her own bag, then tossed his bag onto the ground. She felt good, really good. This is the symbiote. This is the literal story arc for the symbiote. When he goes, it's Spider-Man, and the 90s cartoon, "Shocker! You can't fucking run from me." She felt really strong and ready for more fun. "Come on, Chuck and Steve," she thought. "It's your turn next." Carly Beth found Chuck and Steve a few minutes later. They were across the street from her, standing in the light of someone's driveway, examining the contents of their trick-or-treat bags. Carly Beth ducked behind the wide trunk of the old tree near the sidewalk. Her heart began to pound as she spied on them. Neither boy had bothered to put on a real costume. Chuck had a red bandana tied around his head and a black mask over his eyes. Steve had blackened his cheeks and forehead with big smudges and wore an old tennis hat and a torn raincoat. Is he supposed to be a bum? Carly Beth wondered. That's so crazy. Their costumes, I do remember, were not great, but I could have sworn one of them was wearing like a fedora hat type thing, looking like a detective or something. They had been out for quite a while, she saw. Their bags appeared pretty full. Suddenly, Steve glanced up in her direction. Carly Beth jerked her head back behind the tree trunk. Had he seen her? No, don't blow it now, she told herself. You've waited so long for this moment. You've waited so long to pay back for all the scares. Carly Beth watched the 2 boys make their way up to the front porch of the next house. Nearly tripping over the broomstick, she darted away from the tree. She ran across the street and ducked low behind a hedge. When they come back down the drive, I will leap out. I'll pounce on them. I'll scare them to death, she thought. The low hedge smelled piney and sweet. It was still wet from the morning rain. The wind made the leaves tremble. What was that strange whistling sound? It took Carly Beth a while to realize it was her own breathing. She suddenly began to have doubts. This isn't going to work, she thought, crouching lower behind the trembling hedge. I am a complete jerk. Chuck and Steve aren't going to be scared by a stupid mask. I'm going to jump out at them and they're going to laugh at me, as they always do. They're going to laugh and say, "Oh, hi, Carly Beth, looking good," or something like that. And then they'll tell everyone in school how I thought I was so scary and how they recognized me immediately and what a total jerk I am. And everyone will have a good laugh at my expense. Why did I ever think this would work? What made me think it was such a hot idea? Crouched behind the hedge, Carly Beth could feel her anger grow. Anger at herself. Anger at the two boys. Her face felt burning hot inside the ugly mask. Her heart thudded loudly. Her rapid breaths whistled against the flat nose. Chuck and Steve were approaching. She could hear their sneakers crunch over the gravel driveway. Carly Beth tensed her leg muscles and prepared to pounce. Okay, she thought, taking a deep breath. Here it goes. What an ending to cut there and do this for a part 2. I think that is about halfway of the book too. Oh my god, only because that's all I have rendered for the story. Guys, if you've been enjoying any of the content like this, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on, because apparently YouTube doesn't even notify you guys when the videos come out. And that's it. Let me know if I should finish this story, and support on Patreon if you can. Get access to the exclusives and all the full-length reactions. You can go check out all my Goosebumps reactions to the show if you want Haunted Mask and Haunted Mask Part 2 being included in that. And that's it. Appreciate you. See you in the next one. That's just like in the first one. They stop it at... Where do they stop it at? They stop it of her going... And she's freaking out in the mask. I forget why she's freaking out. This is such a great story. I really cannot fathom that. This is so up my alley, but I didn't like reading as a kid. I just really didn't. But I was definitely around these books. They would do the Scholastic Book Fair and everything. So like I'd always seen them. I'd heard the name. Iconic name. I'm just getting into this now.